Rightio, guys. Yeah, that's working now. Okay, welcome to 2 minutes to go until the second day of this CMAS 4th Age Group World Championships kicks off here in Hobart at the Doon Kennedy Aquatic Centre. What a lovely day it is here in Tassie. It's about 7 degrees outside, clear skies. The stands are filling up as we've got 2 minutes to go until Australia under 23 men compete against the South African under 23 men in a competition that has been going on, well, basically ever since I've been playing underwater hockey, and I know probably for the last 40 years the South Africans and the Australians have been having a very healthy rivalry in the water in the great sport of underwater hockey. Quick shout out to our sponsors, the Tasmanian Government, Hobart City Council, Tourist Tasmania. For those of you that are coming to Hobart, are already here, or are definitely thinking about coming to Hobart or Tasmania in the future, please do so. We always love to have visitors down here, and there's lots of things to do all around the state, but specifically for Hobart where this great competition is taking place. You can get yourself in and amongst it down at Salamanca. There's lots of different restaurants, cafes, and things to see. Lots of colonial buildings to have a look at, lots of ferry rides to take. You could catch a ferry up to Mona, which is a very famous museum that is getting international acclaim these days. You go for a little trip down to Port Arthur and have a look at the convict site down there. You go down to the Tahoon Airwalk, or go for a little trip up to the top of Mount Wellington to take in the view of the lovely Hobart City. So that's just a little taste test of all the things that Hobart and the lovely people of Tasmania has to offer. So I guess the chief referee is about to call 30 seconds to go. A quick review of the team list for this very exciting game that's about to occur. South Africa, number 5, Elmark Cilliers, number 7, Zinzan Paik, number 8, Elrich Engelbrecht, number 10, JP Dutoit, number 11, Eckhard Engelbrecht, number 12, Derek Fitzgerald, and number 13, Cameron Stephen, with the coach Heinrich Mouton. And for the Australians, as the game kicks off, Thomas Milling, number 1, number 2, Josh McKenzie, and I'll tell you the rest later as we watch these very fit and very energetic young men swim at the puck on the strike. The South Africans win that strike and drive the puck to the right-hand side on a good strike or centre to right wing pass, and a nice swim by that right wing to immediately put the pressure on the Aussies on the right-hand side of the South Africans' court, left-hand side for Australians. As the buzzer goes, I think the referees, that might have been the other court. Actually, no, the player's continuing. And the player's basically stagnated with a frenzied sort of contested puck over on that right-hand side. It's good to see the lads have both come out here with the bit seriously between their teeth and ready to rock and roll in this great game of underwater hockey. The puck is still on that right-hand wall for the South Africans, and they're just trying to gain some momentum and doing a good job at driving it down into basically where deep defence starts now for the Australians. The Australians are doing a reasonable job of keeping that puck on the wall, which is normally not where they'd want it to be, but as it gets further into defence, they really don't have much of an option. The refs have seen the infringement, and they're going to give the advantage puck to the South Africans this time. So again, the Australians get pushed back, and they're going to have to set up against a very energetic and determined, by the looks of it, under 23 South African men. As everyone hits the bottom and that free puck is taken, you can see all the bodies there on the bottom and a lot of good body position. The Australians do a very good job of cutting down that flick and taking the puck out to the safety of the wall on their left-hand side, the farthest side from the camera as we're looking at it. You can see the clarity of the pool this morning has improved from yesterday afternoon in day one. Unfortunately for us, that's just a function of the amount of bodies that get put in the court and all the little micro bubbles that get sort of churned up in the water as the South Africans bring the puck off the wall this time and back into the centre channel right in front of the goals. Worst place for the defenders to have the puck, best place for the attackers as the South Africans continue to push the Australian defence. The Aussies do a good job of driving that puck out to underneath their sub-bench, and I would expect the Australians to have a couple of, if they can, a couple of subs, but the South Africans are very quick to recycle the puck and back on the tray. The Aussies desperately trying to get there to cut down any quality movement that the South Africans can generate. I reckon the South Africans took that puck to probably about a half a metre off the tray, so the Aussies have defended it, but only just. So it's looking like it's going to be a very good matchup between these two teams, and at the moment it's all defence for Australia and all attack for South Africa as the lads We're going to get a little bit of a time to breathe at the moment. The referees have seen another foul, and that's unfortunately being signalled against Australia. Well, unfortunately for the Australians anyway. And the South African guys will be pretty happy with that as the Aussies get a couple of quick subs in and set up again for an advantage puck for the South Africans. The Australians are going to have to defend on their left-hand side of the court now. As you can see them typically setting up there in a very classic 3-2-1 setup for the Aussies. You would have heard some of the internationals yesterday calling it 3-3, but if you're Australian like I am, you'd call it 3-2-1. That's definitely the way that we talk about that structure. The South Africans look to be like they're in a 2-1-2-1 setup. I'll have another look and see if I can confirm that on the camera in just a sec. It's a little bit hard to tell from here as you can see in that sort of melee over in the defensive corner. It's very hard to pick what sort of structure either of the teams are playing, particularly if you're not looking at the bird's eye view from the top of from above the pool. The Australians get a nice sort of break in play. The South Africans have to swim it all the way back, maintaining possession to sort of give themselves enough room from those attackers from Australia streaming forward. The Aussies throw a quick switch and they're over to the right-hand side of the court now with that right-hand halfback trying to get a flick off to the right wing. But well done by that South African forward for zoning that switch and cutting down that flick, which really stopped the Australians from getting any kind of initiative to carry on up the court. The play is pretty much on the right-hand wall for the Australians now as they drive into a big pack of large, well-fed South African boys who have obviously been doing a lot of training, and they go for another switch, the Aussies. As you can see, the South African attackers there just sort of following that switch, and unfortunately the Aussies took it into the centre of the court, but then didn't manage to continue the switch. They had to bring it back to the safety of the wall on this right-hand side. So they're bottling up the puck at the moment. You can see that backline rotation happening there with the Aussies as they flick it to another forward from a back and just consolidate possession, just sort of waiting for a good opportunity to start trying to establish some momentum moving forward. The referees have seen an infringement. It looks to me like it was a bit of gloving and a bit of stick fouling. I'm not sure which team it's against yet. The South Africans are swimming back. It is an equal puck, so both teams infringing. The South Africans have called a team timeout, so both teams are going to have a chance to suck in some air, have a drink, and get a few golden words from their coaches going. 45 seconds they'll have until the game commences again. For those of you at home that don't know, when a team timeout is called, you get one of those per half per team, and you basically get a minute. You can't call a timeout unless there's already a free being called, so there has to be a stoppage in play first. But that signal when the ref puts his both hands on his head and then takes one hand away with a straight arm, indicating the team who called that timeout, is basically the signal for a team timeout, and that was called by the South Africans in this case. A very close game at the moment. South Africa definitely dictating the attacking play. The Australians just sort of defending well, but the South Africans are really testing their edge and pushing the limits of the Australian under-23 men's. A couple of times that puck has got to within a metre of the Australian defensive goal tray. I'm sure those South African lads will be very keen to get that puck in that tray and establish a bit of a lead on the Aussies at the moment as the referees see another obstruction infringement against the Aussies for the South Africans, and the Saffers are going to have another free puck in deep attack against this Aussie under-23 men's team as they swim it in a big flick, goes into all the bodies. You can see it's just like a massive feeding frenzy in there. The buzzer goes. It looks to me like it's going to be obstruction against South Africa this time, called by the third referee behind play. So she obviously saw something she didn't like. It could have been because just how one of those attacking South African lads positioned themselves in the defensive area as the puck went in. As you can see, the Aussies take the puck and they basically bring it straight into the South African setup as Tommy Milner gets the puck and goes for a nice swim down the right-hand side, supported by his whole forward line as the Australians get a really good surge, a really good sort of press. They bring the puck back into the centre channel, and the South Africans with that left-handed big defender just managed to defend that puck and get it out of the centre channel as the South Africans straight away counter-attack and try and get some momentum going. A very nice swim down the left-hand wall by that South African forward. He curled on the puck and then basically went again. So that's quite a good effort from him, as it's quite hard to curl and then go again after you've gone for a big swim already. the South Africans are doing a good job of sort of keeping that puck in the centre channel and getting numbers around it, trying to drive that puck through the line of the Australian defence and just sort of keep the momentum on. The South Africans have been given another advantage puck for a bit of a chopping infringement for the Australians as they quickly get some subs going and get some fresh guys into the water. So tit for tat at the moment, Australia versus South Africa. We're 7 minutes into this first half, 8 minutes to go. Looks like we've got a timeout at the moment for Australia. So again, there's going to be a minute's rest. The Aussies will get together and have a chat. So will the South Africans. And I'll tell you what, I can't pick, a clear a team basically that is dictating the play more than the other at this stage. I think the Australians are probably starting to get into their attacking game a bit more now. The South Africans in the first 6 or 7 minutes definitely dictated all the attacking moves. You can see those guys just sucking in air and listening to their coach there on the back wall. Very important to get your heart rate and your breathing under control when you can in underwater hockey, as that equation of when you can be on the bottom and when you need to be on the surface is essentially just dictated by the heart rate you're holding. When your heart rate's high, it's a lot harder to repetitively be on the bottom. So it's a real balance of trying to keep that heart rate at about 80% or less, and every now and again you just put everything on the line and go for it. Once you do that, though, you're going to have to spend a fair bit more time on the surface to recover. So for those of you out there that don't play much underwater hockey, there's always a balance of how much energy you expend and when you do it. As the game continues, the South Africans get that free puck. The Aussies defend it out to their left-hand defensive corner, and the rock and roll continues in that corner. Pardon me. The South Africans seem like they're not trying to take that puck out of the corner too much. The Australians would probably be happy to leave it in there. The referees have helped the Aussies out there and called a stick infringement chopping foul on the South Africans. So the Aussies will have a free puck in their left-hand defensive quarter. It's going to be interesting to see how the SAF is set up on this free puck, whether or not they stack the wall or if they're covering the switch. The Aussies do love a switch play every now and again. I know some of the other countries out there call it a swing, but Australia likes to call it a switch, as they do switch it now with a fast-swimming South African left-hand cover forward, basically covering that switch the whole way. He manages to get that puck and have a crack at attacking the Australian defence. He did a really good job there of just following that switch all the way across the pool, not giving the Australians an inch as they consolidate possession in the corner and again just sort of curl and reverse curl and keep possession of the puck ideally as the South Africans come in to try and gain possession of that puck back and sort of try and create something out of a very hard position to attack from. You can see them pressing forward, but there's not much space or not many places to go other than in the corner as they drive the back wall very strong. The Australians are going to be really tested here with a really nice drive by that South African attacker, and it looks to me like he's actually managed to take it all the way down the back wall and score a goal. Well done, South Africa. That's first blood for them. It's going to be 1-0 South Africa, Australia. The Aussies will definitely not be happy with how they let that puck down the back wall. That's basically one of the hardest places to attack from, one of the easiest places to defend if you've got your defensive stuff sorted. So that was number 10, JP Detroit, who basically just saw an opportunity and had a crack down that back wall. And I'll tell you what, well done, number 10, JP, because not too many guys can score a goal from the back corner straight down the back wall. Particularly against an Australian defence, which generally tends to be pretty strong in that area. So well done, South Africa, for really exposing their weakness in that case as the Saffers win the strike again with a lot of energy. Probably won that strike there by only about 15, 20 centimetres and just, again, put that puck out to the right wing. The Aussies sort of nullified their momentum, though, and they look to be pressing the puck down the left-hand side as they switch the puck around. The right half gets the puck, and he's immediately engaged by a couple of very energetic forwards as Tommy Milner gets the puck and does a nice open swim into space. He's tagged on the right-hand wall, but Tommy definitely did his job there. Big swim as it's gone all the way across the defensive area for the South Africans, and I think they might have attempted a switch there, which was actually reasonably well implemented. They take that puck out to their right-hand defensive area. The Aussies are really trying to get that puck back and try and get it into the centre channel to establish a good opportunity to score. The referees have seen another stick infringement, this time against South Africa. And that's going to give the Australians an opportunity to have a free puck right in front of the South African defensive goal. In these positions here on free pucks, it's very important to get on the bottom early and control that bottom. As the Aussie swims it in, looks like he's going right and then just sort of flicks it into the centre as the Australians desperately try and get it in. And it looks to me like they've actually put it in the tin. We'll wait and see what the referees say, but wow, the Aussies did a great job of just controlling a very insane sort of passage of play there where there was a lot of bodies on the bottom. I'm still waiting to see if the referees have called it a goal. I think they have, and I'm pretty sure Tommy Milner on the right-hand wing might have put that puck in. Oh no, it was actually number 7, Marco Rolfs. I don't think that's right. Marco Rolfs might not actually be in the Aussie team. Oh, no, that's true. Marco. Well done, Marco. Number 7 for Australia. I got a little bit confused with the names there, but 1-1 now, Australia, South Africa. In what is shaping up to be a titanic battle between these two very well-matched teams. The South Africans again win the puck and take it out to the right. That's it looks to me like the South Africans are playing a 2-1-2-1. You would have seen there that as they won the strike, that was actually their left-hand forward. So there wasn't another forward further left than the guy that won the strike, which is the reason why he's taking it right the whole time. He's basically getting the puck, getting engaged by the Australians and then deciding to take it right, which is probably a premeditated move by the South Africans as the Australians get an advantage puck here. And they'll be happy with that as they set up to take this advantage puck on the left-hand wall. Aussies drive it in straight into their setup in the melee of where the South Africans are, and then immediately throw the switch. The right half gets the puck in a nice amount of space, gives it to the right wing, but he's tagged. Unfortunately, that right half probably should have swum it a little bit more there. But the South Africans were very quick to come across as Josh McKenzie gets the puck in the fullback position for the Aussies and just delivers it back to his forward line. All 3 forwards on the bottom for that small passage of play. Unfortunately, that right wing popped at the wrong time there, and the South Africans just got a bit of clear possession down that left-hand wall for them. And now they've got a bit of attacking momentum going. As you can see, the 2 forwards and that pivot for the South Africa go back down. Nice, tight position. Australia managed to get the puck through their fullback and just swim that puck straight across the court. He's going on a big swim, a real big swim for Australia there. Basically generated, I'm pretty sure, by the Australian fullback, Josh McKenzie. As the Aussies push right up against the tray. There's numbers on the bottom. It'll be interesting to see if they can finish this off. It looks to me like they're right on the tray, just trying to funnel that puck in. The refs are looking at each other with their fingers in the air, and it looks to be goal number 2 for Australia now. So we'll wait and see who scored that. But the South Africans are going to have to really come out hard in the last minute and a half of this game because Australia have just hit the lead 2-1 on a really nice drive down the left-hand side court off a big swim by the fullback, I'm pretty sure, for Australia, Josh McKenzie. Basically just taking that puck, hitting the afterburner and swimming square straight across the pool. He might have got a flick out to another fast forward once he went left. It was a bit hard to see on the camera, but either way, it was a really nice swim by the Australians up the left-hand side. They really stretched the South Africans and their structure as they come into the strike again with less than a minute to go in this first half. You know, I definitely can't call which team is playing better at the moment. Both teams are playing excellent. And each team is going to want to try and establish their authority on this game by putting another goal in prior to half-time coming. So we can see the Australians are just sort of getting the puck into their attacking half, but the South Africans look to have cleared it to the wall. So there's a bit of stagnated play over there as the two players just sort of like hold the puck. The South Africans regain possession and start driving that right-hand wall. The Aussies down. The Aussie rotation is occurring, as you can see there, and they get a little break down the left-hand wall again. Sort of tit for tat on that side at the moment. No clear winner of the puck by either team. The refs have seen another infringement, and the clock will count down to half-time. The chief ref's blowing his whistle, and that's 3 minutes of rest that both the South Africans and the Australians get to swap sides, consolidate, get some water or Gatorade or whatever floats your boat into their heads to rehydrate, and then get some pearls of wisdom from the coaches and the senior players of the team to try and wrestle some kind of advantage or some kind of clear advantage out of this game for either team. I'm sure us, the South Africans and the Australians, are both very keen to just sort of start dictating play more. Neither team able to dictate their game plan against the other team perfectly. And, it's not surprising that the score is so close, 2-1. The Australians just sort of edging in front with that last goal. But with 15 minutes to go, I'd basically still call this game 0-0. The South Africans could easily come back and score a couple of quick goals, especially with the kind of attacking prowess that they've displayed in this game so far. So the Australians are definitely going to have to be very careful that they continue to play their game plan, continue to dictate. I think it's over there with James. Yeah, okay. No, not yet. I've just been calling the game. Cool, guys. I'm back with you now with 1 minute and 20 seconds to go in this half-time. Yeah, what can I say? Close game. The South Africans are playing amazingly good hockey. I'd say the South Africans have done a bit more attacking overall than the Australians. The Australians have done more defending. Both teams are playing very well. A really good goal scored by number 10 from South Africa, which was JP du Toit, straight down the left-hand back wall, right in the face of the Australian defenders. That South African lad did not care. He just drove that puck all the way through them, straight to the corner of the train, and it went. So a very nice goal by the South Africans first up. And then basically the two goals the Australians scored were pretty similar to each other, really. They just sort of got the puck into about the centre of the park, the centre of the court on the right-hand side, then saw an opportunity to go left, took it at pace, stretched the opposition, stretched the South Africans wide over to the left-hand side of the Australian court, brought it back into the middle, and essentially just sort of got the numbers on the bottom and drove it in. My apologies, that was their second goal, I'm pretty sure. Their first goal came off a set play right in front of the left-hand side of their attacking tray off a free puck. So we're counting down to the second half now, as the lads called springs on the wall. As always, they kick off and both of them have a proper crack at winning that strike. The South Africans win it. You can see the right-hand forward for the South African guys won that strike there and just immediately flicked it over to the left as they crank up their 2-1-2-1 structure on that left-hand wall. The South Africans are very good at that that structure. The 2-1-2-1 gives them a lot of positive energy going forward. As you can see, they assert that positive energy on the Australian defenders, drive that puck all the way into their attacking left-hand corner and try again to go down the back wall as the Aussie defenders desperately try and keep them out. The referees have seen an infringement, a stick infringement against the South Africans this time. The Australians will get a nice reprieve in deep defence. I'm sure the boys will be happy with that. It's going to be interesting to see where the Aussies take the puck this time. The South Africans are definitely strong on the wall, but they've also been very good at cutting down that switch that the Aussies have been doing. So it'll be interesting to see which way the Aussies decide to take the puck. I would not be surprised at all if they try and go straight a little bit here and then open it up to the left. But we'll wait and see as they kick it off. You can see they're playing straight at the moment, straight up that wall. They've got a good amount of momentum, but the South Africans immediately try and counter-attack. The Aussies have got clear possession now with a bit of space behind them with a flick that doesn't exactly go as far as they would have liked. The South African forward was able to cut that down. The Aussies were there to stop any momentum that the South African forward was trying to create as the Saffers drive that right-hand side with a nice sort of outside swerve, establish momentum, get bodies behind the puck. And it's just a desperate contest at the moment down in that defensive left-hand corner of the Aussies, right underneath their sub-bench. A good drive by the Australian defender. I think that was the Australian fullback, Josh McKenzie, as the Aussies are probably trying to get some fresh subs in there. The refs have seen an infringement. Referee's trying to see what the other ref is saying, but looks to me like a stick infringement against the Australians, right underneath their sub-bench, which is unfortunate for Australia because they definitely would have been looking to to establish some kind of momentum. That was against Andreas Londono for a stick infringement there against the Australians. The South Africans are going to have a proper crack again at seeing what this Australian defence can handle. The Saffers bring it back into the centre channel, and the Australians have got a nice bit of clear puck, nice bit of clear pull as they swim it down the right-hand side with lots of energy. Numbers coming behind the puck for the Aussies. The South African defence desperately try and get behind the puck in good bottom position to try and stop this momentum the Australians have established down the right-hand side there. A very nice kind of catch of the movement that the South Africans tried to generate off their free puck just allowed the Australians to turn a defensive move into an attack as the South Africans take it all the way to underneath their sub-bench. Aussies doing a good job of sort of sticking with them. Looks to me like the puck might get driven back into the corner at the moment if the South Africans let the Aussies, but I don't think maybe the South Africans would like the puck in there, but I'm sure the Australians will be trying to take the puck somewhere else. The Saffers look like they've got a good amount of fresh players in the water as two South African energetic forwards double team that Australian defender. Unfortunately, the referee has seen that one of those guys has done a little bit of gloving, so they're going to have to pause and reset for a defensive play against an advantage puck for the Australians. It's always a bit of a tricky situation to be underneath the defensive team sub-bench because it's quite easy if they drive the puck over there as Josh McKenzie takes the puck into the centre of the court to get a couple of fresh subs in. I would not be surprised at all if that's where all that energy came from for the South Africans just 20 or 30 seconds ago on that counter-attack drive they tried to initiate. The Aussies have got the puck and they sort of try and recycle it back into the centre. The fullback sort of went left, went right, was looking for some space, and now they're driving the centre channel well as they're right in front of the puck now. Right in front of the tray now with a good flick to a forward sitting right on the tray. The puck is sitting in the goals in that yellow section, which is very easy to see that it's sitting in the goals. Just waiting on the referees to confirm that was actually a goal. But the Australians are swimming back to their to reset up for another strike. So it looks to me like it's 3-1 now, Australia versus South Africa, in a game that, again, there's just very little difference between these two teams. The Aussies are definitely 2 goals up on the scoreboard. They'd be happy with that. With 10 minutes to go, though, it would be easy if the Australians took their foot off the pedal for the South Africans to be right back in this game. Unfortunately, I don't have the player for Australia that scored that, but an excellent passage of play by the Aussies to control a lot of pressure that the South Africans were sort of implementing on them on the Australian right-hand attacking side. They just managed to basically bring it into the centre, slow the play down, wait for a good time to attack, and then they just went at that centre channel when the when the South Africans just were not really expecting it. Found a whole heap of space in that centre channel, and an Australian forward just sitting there to crocodile roll and put that puck in the tray. It's always good to see a crocodile roll every now and again in this sport. You don't really want to see too many in a game, but it's always nice when you see a crocodile roll work, and it's not uncommon to see a forward to try and curl and then sort of backflick that puck underneath their butt to try and get into the goal. So well done Australia for going 3-1 up against South Africa. As the Aussies press attack again, they're definitely attacking a lot more in this second half than they did in the first half. And the South Africans are having to do a lot more defending as the ref plays advantage, and the buzzer has gone now, calling obstruction against the South Africans. So they are going to have to set up for another defensive puck. The Australians haven't had too many free pucks in attack this game so far. They definitely converted one in the first half. I think that was their first goal. So it'll be interesting to see how they go again this time, as I'm sure the South Africans will be very keen to get that puck into one of those corners as quick as they can. Looks to me like there's a timeout going at the moment as the players just sort of like hang out in the court in that very typical sort of circular position. You can see the South African coach there really having a good chat with his lads, just trying to get them to, stick to the basics, I'm sure, and continue focusing on the game plan. I'm sure the Australians are talking the same sort of language, same kind of team message. 15 seconds to go now until this game continues. And both teams playing a really good brand of hockey, this whole game, and really sort of testing the edge of each other's structures. The Australians are 2 goals in front at the moment with 8 minutes and 47 seconds remaining. It's going to be very interesting to see as the Australians take a free puck, an immediate curl, which is non-standard off a free puck. Very hard to attack from a curl when there's so many bodies. The puck goes down, the South Africans are onto it, so are the Australians, and there's a serious fight as they just curl and double curl. A good drive by the Aussies with a flick. The referees have pulled it up for something. They're conferring, and it is an advantage puck against Australia. I'm sure they'll sort of lament that opportunity there, because it looked to me like they were doing a good job of creating a little bit of space in that centre channel, but the South Africans would be happy with that. An advantage puck, that basically allows them to dictate which side they want to take that puck and which side they want to get that 2-1-2-1 structure cranking, as they immediately have a really strong, fast attack on the right-hand side of the Australian defence there. The left-hand attacking side for the South Africans on the far wall from the cameras. They basically just drove that puck up the pool like there wasn't anyone there to contest it. Finally, the Australian defence arrived, and it seems to me like there's a good melee over there on the far side of the court, all the way into the defensive corner for the Australian defence. You can see them setting up the rotation and just sort of trying to establish some kind of bottom position and possession going on. But again, both teams desperately trying to gain advantage as the puck remains on that far side. Quickly, I'd like to shout out to a couple more sponsors. Shark Underwater Hockey Equipment, Joe. He's also doing some reffing here. He's supplied a lot of the gloves for the referees. Makes some great underwater hockey equipment, so please go and check his stuff out if you get a chance. 6 Al Agua Underwater Hockey Equipment as well. Amar leading the charge, running that show down here in Hobart. He's got a stall in Hobart. You can also go to his website, 6 Al Agua, on Facebook. If you just search for that, or on the internet, you'll find his website as well. You can order things online. He makes a lot of good sticks and a lot of good gloves. I know he's recently made an Australian-style python stick. As the referee is chatting to the South Africans, looks to me like they're holding a finger up for one of the South Africans to get out for 1 minute for a free arm, maybe. Or, oh no, it's an Australian player that's going into the bin. So, unfortunately, I believe that's Josh McKenzie, the Australian captain, is going to spend 1 minute in the bin for a free arm. And also number 8 for South Africa, Elric Engelbrecht, is also in the bin. So each team is going one player down as there's another timeout called by one of the teams. Very interesting. I didn't actually see the infringement. There was 2 referees, both swinging their hands around above the water, both looking like there was free arm type barging or maybe a bit of a tussle under there. So perhaps Josh McKenzie, who's cranking the number 2 for Australia, and Elric Engelbrecht, number 8 for South Africa, just got into a little bit of a desperate battle for the puck and maybe inadvertently got their free arms going on each other. It is an equal puck, so that'd be my guess. Usually an equal puck is given when there is no clear team that's been fouled. So looks to me with 2 players in the bin, one from each team, that's an equal puck is a good decision by the refs there. The buzzer goes again, and another equal puck. I believe that the referees got a little bit confused, and perhaps one of the teams wasn't ready. So they'll set up again for another equal puck. And I tell you what, this game is going to go all the way down to the wire. There's 6 minutes remaining as the South Africans drive that puck over to the right-hand side of their attacking area. The referees have seen another infringement. That's a stick infringement on Aussie, and they're getting sent out as well. So the Australians are now down to 4 against 5. Wait and see what number that is, but it looks like Mitch Piccoli, number 11 for Australia, is spending a minute in the bin, and unfortunately for the Aussies, they're going to have to desperately defend against a numerically advantaged South African team. They did a good job of defending there, and they take it over to the sub-bench side on the wall. The Aussies should be able to consolidate possession as they sort of rock and roll with a very determined South African attack, holding it in the corner and just giving themselves a few seconds of sort of safety. A nice little steal there from the South African forward, but unfortunately for him, the Aussies managed the corner and just see how long they can stay in there. A nice little rock and roll movement left and right by that player. Possession, priority when you deep defence like they are. To get that puck out of the corner. The refs have called another infringement. They're looking at each other, and I think, I'm not quite sure why they called it there. He's hitting his wrist, and he's giving it against the South Africans, so looks to me like it's going to be an advantage puck for the Australians right next to their defensive, or right in their defensive area, right next to their sub bench. The Aussies will be happy with that. They were definitely having a lot of trouble getting it out of their defensive corner. They might have been doing that on purpose, as I think Josh McKenzie has now rejoined the game with Australia and South Africa. Well, sorry, Australia down to 5 players in the water. South Africa have probably got their full strength 6 players back. Well, I think number 8 for South Africa is just about to get back in the water, so sorry, they're still down to 5. The referees have given another advantage puck back to Australia with only 4.5 minutes to go now in the first game in Court 1 of Day 2. Very exciting game. The Australians are just hanging on to a 2-goal lead as they decide to take it over to the other side of the court now on a quick switch to their right-hand wall. The South Africans are on them, though, and they don't really get any forward space off that switch. They just get met at the wall. The Aussies would have been looking to just sort of relieve some pressure and try and take advantage of the skinniness sometimes of the way that 2-1-2 structure seems. But obviously the South African lads were well aware of the Australian ability to switch the puck. And they had a fast swimmer over there to just follow that switch the whole time as the South Africans really pressed their advantage and pressed their attack right on the right-hand corner of the tray on that back wall. It looks like it's gloving against Australia, so the South Africans are going to get a free puck right in front of the attacking tray on their left-hand side. That's pretty much, apart from just scoring a goal, that would have been something that they'd be desperately trying to get, so they'd be happy with an advantage puck here. A lot of big boys in this South African team, so it's going to be interesting to see what they can do. The Australians look to have good numbers on the bottom and look to have taken that puck over to their right-hand defensive corner. So well done, Australia, for defending a good press by the South African attack. As, again, they start the rock and roll feeding frenzy in the corner there. But the South Africans, they've already proven that they can score from that position. If the Australian defence just gets caught napping for a split second, they can quickly come down that back wall, as JP did in that first half. So he's a playing advantage at the moment. I'll say that for the offensive team, they wouldn't give advantage unless looks to me like he's saying a unsportsmanlike behaviour with a punch movement after the being definitely be happy with that. As you can see, their captain there talking to the referees. Unfortunately, though, it's very hard to get a referee to turn around his decision. Obviously, I wasn't in the water, so I can't say definitively that was unsportsmanlike. It was interesting. The referee, after he put his his fist on his forehead, which is the indication generally of a dangerous flick, which is 2 minutes mandatory time in the bin. The Australians switch it over to their left-hand side, but the South African defence are onto them straight away, and they just nullify that movement. The Australian halfback just could not get his flick away to his forward as they go back to that far wall. And the tit-for-tat contest continues with really, when the puck's over there, the South Africans are doing a good job of driving into the corner, but they haven't been able to get it out of the corner and in front of the tray as the Aussies go for another swim, another switch to their offside halfback in clear pool at the moment, with their left-hand winger getting the puck and just getting engaged immediately by that number 7, the big South African swimming back. Aussies right underneath their sub-bench, trying to establish some kind of forward momentum, as the South Africans are doing a great job under a lot of pressure of just stopping the Australians from gaining any kind of forward movement. Big swim by the South African player there as the buzzer goes. And the referees have seen another infringement. Looks like they're pointing at the Australians this time for a minute, an obstruction. So it looks to me like another Australian will go into the bin for another minute for obstruction. unfortunately, in those desperate times when you're trying to establish some kind of forward movement, it's very easy to just sort of overswim the puck and get in the way. As Cam Lewis, number 4 for Australia, is spending a minute in the bin, and the South Africans will get another advantage puck right next to the Australian sub-bench. All the South Africans are down on the bottom early as they hit that puck, and just a little slide pass out to their right-hand guy onto the right-hand wall. And that puck is probably going to go back into the corner again, you know, which I guess from my point of view, the South Africans are doing a very good job of taking it in there, but they have scored 1 goal from the corner in the first half, but since then they haven't really looked that dangerous when the puck goes in the corner against the Australian defence. So I would say that the South Africans need to sort of concentrate on looking like they're going to take it into the corner and then try and run some kind of 45 or some kind of lateral swim before trying to attack that tray. A very hard position from the corner to score from. So the Australians had that advantage puck there and didn't do much with it, just sort of gave the puck back to the South African team as they sort of drive or try and drive a 45 as the Australians drive that puck back into that deep defensive corner again, trying to maintain some kind of clear possession. Again, a little bit of a I'm going forward, no I'm not, I'm going back into the corner from the Aussies as they try and keep the puck in there. The South Africans are doing a good job of just sort of getting in their way and trying to sort of nullify any kind of defensive movements they're trying to make. Again, the Australian defenders have got a good rotation going as the South Africans try and get a bit of bottom position, superior bottom position, I should say, against the Aussies. The referees have called another free. Wait and see who they say it's for or against. The South Africans are swimming back, so I think it might be against South Africa this time. The Aussie lads will be happy with that. They get another advantage puck right next to their sub-bench. An inside pass, an interesting pass there by the Australian fullback, kind of away from where his strength was on the left-hand wall. It looks to me like that's full time. The referees are signalling full time, and a very hard-fought win there for the Australian under-23s against a very determined South African under-23 men's team. The teams are cheering each other at the moment, and a really good display by both teams, in my opinion, of some excellent hockey. It could have gone either way for either team. In this case, in this game, obviously the Australian men were just that little bit better at converting their goals, and they did have a very good game in defence. The South Africans definitely asked them a lot of quality attacking questions, which the Australian defence had the answer for all but one time. So well done to the Australian under-23 men's for a very hard-fought victory against a very determined under-23 South African lineup. I really liked the speed and the energy that the South Africans brought to this game, and they were very quick on any kind of lateral movement the Australians tried to establish to sort of open that game up. So well done for both teams. A really good opening game on the second day of this CMAS age group Underwater Hockey World Championships. You can see both teams are making sure they shake the hands of the referees as well. It's always good to see that sportsmanship going around the court, and the referees are definitely trying to do their best in there. And from what I could see in that game, they ref that game very evenly. The obstruction, the stick infringements were for both teams, and they were definitely throwing both teams out when they thought it was relevant to do so. So I like the way that game was reffed from the commentator's chair as well, and I think that it's always worth tipping the hat to the referees. It's a hard job, particularly because you can never keep all the players happy. We're going to try and get out to the pool deck now to do some interviews, so hopefully we can get someone out there to chat to the players and give us their perspective. Cool. Here I am poolside with one of the South African gents from the under-23 men's team that just played against the Aussies. Just introduce yourself for us, mate.
I'm JP Dutoy.
Hey, JP, and if I'm not mistaken, you were the guy that went down the back wall and scored that first goal for the South Africans. Is that correct?
Yes. We had good forward momentum, so just finishing off what the team did. So yeah, great work from us.
Oh, that was very impressive from the camera, mate. You really exposed the Australian defence there on that goal, and it was good to see. So can you tell us how that game sort of felt in there for you guys?
No, it was very tough. The Australians are very fast, so we try to use their weaknesses, or what we thought what their weaknesses were. But yeah, great game all around.
Yeah, I thought that was a very down-to-the-wire game from both teams. Unfortunately for you guys, obviously the Australians just managed to get their nose in front with a couple of goals towards the end. But I tell you what, from the commentator's box, I couldn't really pick a clear winner until right to the end. So I thought you guys had a great game, and congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah, they used their chances, and we just missed out. But it was a great game all around. Very proud of the boys.
Well, better luck next time, dude. Thanks for talking to us, JP.
Thank you.
Okay, so here I've got Tommy Milner, one of the lightning rods of the Australian forward line. Tommy, how are you today?
Yeah, I'm good, mate. Thank you.
Can you tell us how that game felt in there for you?
Yeah, it was pretty good. It was pretty scrappy, but we managed to open it up a bit and get some space, which was really good to see.
So you guys did a lot of defending in that first half. The South Africans put you under a lot of pressure, hey?
Yeah, they're big boys and they're very strong on the wall. They really worked us.
And would I be correct in saying that you at least scored one of those goals in there today?
I think I did score at least one goal. Not sure if it might have been two. I think it was probably just one.
That's awesome, mate. Well, congratulations to the Australian under-23 men's for a hard-fought win.
Yeah, well, thank you, Parko. Good to see you, mate.
You too. I'll see you next time. Cheers.